Hi, everybody, and Happy New Year. January 1st, we start the new year with a game against Fulham today. A game I'm confident of winning 3 0, as I had said earlier. But this video is about the year 2018 and the review of that year. So, January started out with an FA Cup exit. The coach was Arsene Wenger, as we all know, and we had been traditionally strong in the FA Cup, and myself and many fans probably hoped that we could put together another FA Cup run because things had been we started well in the league, but then we faded away a little bit. So by January, we were not really in position to do anything in the league, and we know all Manchester City ran away with the league that year. Uh, so an exit to Nottingham Forest was not a very auspicious way to start the season. But we did progress to the League Cup final, beating Chelsea over two legs, which was a good feat in itself. But in the month of January, there was three wins and one draw. And as we all know, in the month of January, we signed Aubameyang, which was definitely a highlight of that transfer window. But we had to move on Alexis Sanchez in a swap deal. We got Mkhitaryan, and still saying we got Mkhitaryan, we still got the best side of that deal, albeit not very productive to this point in the full calendar year. Mkhitaryan has yet to fulfill his potential. We've seen some flashes, but and I think Emery likes him, but we need to see a little bit more from Mkhitaryan because he definitely has it in his locker. February brought a league win at Everton, 5-1 win, and this is where we annihilated Everton. We got excited. All Ozil and Lacazette and Aubameyang all got in on the action on that day. But that was followed up quickly by a defeat to Spurs at Wembley. Harry Kane uh, had a goal, and Lacazette had that chance right at the end to snatch a draw. Uh, we were defeated by Manchester City in the League Cup final, and that's when Mustafi created that error against Aguero, and we never looked back from there in terms of being defeated. Followed up quickly by a league game against Manchester City again, where Aubameyang missed the penalty. Moving on to March, we were this was a landmark day at Brighton, uh, typical of the Wenger era towards the end, where most fans started to lose faith in the boss. Uh, let's reflect on Wenger for a second. He had a wonderful 10 years with Arsenal. That defense was in place at the beginning. We can all name the characters in that defense, and they were characters. Uh, he did a couple of good things in the mid 2000s in terms of getting Sol Campbell, and we had numerous FA Cup wins. It was good times for the first 10 years. Well, then I feel like we had to sell off our best players to fund the move to the Emirates Stadium. And with Chelsea coming on the scene and Manchester City coming on the scene, we just were not financially competent. And a lot of years of Wenger, we all kind of lost faith to varying degrees. Even the staunchest supporters would think that he could have done better in the final years, but his legacy is there. With time, we can look fondly back at the good years for Wenger. But back in March, this Brighton defeat typified what Wenger was doing last season, especially at the end of last season. I'm wondering if the players knew he was leaving, and they decided to mail in some performances. They didn't play for the manager. We're seeing that right now for Pogba. He didn't play for Mourinho, and now he's excelling in the position, and that kind of dumbfounds me. These are professional players. They need to put in performances for. They're playing for the supporters. They're not playing for the manager or the coach. But we went to Brighton. We were 1-0 up and 2-1 down. That was probably one of the worst days as an Arsenal supporter. We knew that the embers of Wenger's reign were still petering out a little bit, and we were hoping, and I love Arsene Wenger, but we were all hoping that he would leave the club and we could move on. The rest of March, we progressed with a Europa win at Milan, AC Milan. A very convincing win in the end, and we beat Watford 3-0. And Czech having that save. We had the cojones that day. So March kind of typified a professional player's psychosis is they play when they feel like they have a chance in a competition, and the players felt like they had a chance to win the Europa League. Um, they did not feel like they wanted to go to Brighton and show up that day away from home. And they were able to play a 3-0 victory against Watford at home. So that was March. April, there was 3 wins in the league in April. We won at Stoke, Southampton, and West Ham. But we did lose again, similarly like to Brighton. We lost 2-1 to Newcastle away from home. But we could see a partnership developing. We could see Lacazette and Aubameyang combining for a goal. We moved on to Old Trafford, and this Old Trafford game kind of highlighted for me how much Arsene Wenger and Alex Ferguson had come to be friends. Uh, Probably most supporters, and myself included, uh, were a little bit unbelieving of what we saw, how much their friendship was. I mean, let's look at it. This when Arsene Wenger came on the scene, Ferguson was pissed off. He saw a competitor who was very tough and was not going to crack like Kevin Keegan, and they were bitter enemies because Arsenal were competitive back then, all the way through the 90s. It was some juicy, juicy contest between Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger. And then at Old Trafford, we see them being the best of friends. You know, it just shows that when you have not been competitive, Arsene, that Alex Ferguson, I mean, sure, you can respect somebody, but from being bitter enemies to being the best of friends, um, that was something for me to witness. Um, but anyway, we lost that game 2-1 to Fellaini header at the end. And we were just like, at that point in the league, we were not in a position where we were going to get top 4. And we kind of put all our eggs in the basket and went for the win in the Europa League. But moving on from the Manchester United game, we played Atletico at home at the Emirates, and so this is probably the most frustrating part of last year was to lose ultimately to Atletico, and in that first leg, we had so many chances. We really should have finished them off. Simeone could not believe that Koscielny made a mistake at the end, and when we think about Koscielny, we're going to think about all the good things that he did for the club. Fantastic servant, no doubt. But we're going to think about that mistake that he made for Atletico and let them back into the tie, and we tied 1-1, and we go to Madrid, and everyone in their hearts kind of knew that we didn't have a chance out there in Madrid, and we ultimately went out of the Europa League, which was so disappointing. That was a competition we all had our hopes on winning, and it was possible. We look at the final, and we could have been there, and we could have won. So that home leg against Atletico was so disappointing. We put everything into it, but it was one of those days where we just did not hit the net through a combination, and we were playing with an extra man for the majority of the game, like 80 minutes. So disappointing. But I went over to the Emirates for the next game, the Burnley game. Pressure was off. It was Wenger's last home game, and wonderful, wonderful memories from that day. The class of the club makes me so proud. I've been supporting Arsenal since 1986, and like I said before in another video, a young George Graham team full of young players, and I kind of wish Emery would do that this year. Throw in one or two of the kids. They've got older professionals that should help them, you know. But yeah, Wenger, the Arsenal club is class, and we could see with Wenger's farewell, the whole proceedings on the day was just excellent. Anybody that was there will remember for the rest of their life, and I was just so happy and so proud to be there for Arsene Wenger's last game. It was my second game, second time visiting the Emirates. The one previous to that was a 2-0 win against Manchester United, which Mourinho discounted because they were going to the Europa League final. But two good games for me to have been at Manchester United at the Emirates, and this one, the Burnley game. And in light of what Sean Dyche has been doing recently, I'm so happy that we tonked them 5-0 that day. And every time a goal went in, I could see Dyche coming from his seat to the sideline. It was just so funny. I mean, Dyke is just such a dick. So that kind of wraps up Arsene Wenger's reign. Uh, in May, that was the win at Burnley. Was May we won that was his last home game, but we were to lose against Leicester after that. And then we went on to Huddersfield, which is a nice symmetry to the whole Arsene Wenger career, because Huddersfield is where a previous Arsenal legend in the 1930s, Herbert Chapman, started out his career, and the ties between Huddersfield and Arsenal are strong. And it was just nice to have that game at Huddersfield, because Wenger is a legend. Let's not have his last 10 years, as frustrating as the last few years of it was for most of us, let's not have it tarnish his reputation. Arsene Wenger has always been classy. Arsenal has always been classy. And I'm so proud, so proud to have this club on my heart for the rest of my life. Um, but yeah, he announced we'll all also all of us will remember April 20th, when Arsene Wenger announced that he was going to leave. Some of us will remember for being so happy that he was leaving. Some of us will remember it for being thankful for the 22 years that we had. Wow, isn't that a symmetry as well? 22 years that we had of Wenger, and our new manager went 22 games unbeaten. I just stumbled across that right now, so that is amazing. But Arsene Wenger, class act. We love you, Arsene. With time, we will remember you more and more fondly, and we'll forget about the last years. I know you always held the club and its employees and its reputation worldwide. You held it very high in your regard. I know you love the club, and I hope someday you'll come back to be a director. That would be really, really good. So we went for about a month, and numerous managers um, were touted, but we landed on Emery, and I'm pretty happy with where Emery has taken us. We have a limited squad. With any manager, you're going to want to rotate some players out, and that's what we need. We do need two transfer windows, January and one in summer. So we need to be active. Cronky, we need to get some players in. Get your fucking checkbook out, Cronky. We need people like Lichtsteiner in the dressing room, not on the field. It's so irritating that he's on the field making mistakes. People complain about Bellerin, but he does provide a lot of assists. But anyway, I'm going to kind of wind this up in a quick recap of what Emery has done. He's come in and tried to change the ethos of the and mentality of the whole club, change the mentality of the players, get them working harder on the pitch. That's the one thing he promised on his first presser, was he was going to get the players to work harder, and I like that. Most supporters can understand that and uh, reconcile that hard work, and they're going to love it. The supporters will love that. We do need to go into the transfer window. We've lost Rob Holding and we've lost Welbeck, two players that were vital to our first team, and now we need to replace them, especially Holding. We need to bring in a body. We need a commanding centre back. There's two trains of thought here. We go out and splash the cash, which is kind of difficult to do in January, but let's try it. I would love to get a Koulibaly, but I'm also open to a signing of a Cahill, who's been there and done that. I know most fans, the more passionate ones. I mean, I'm an optimistic gooner, but you have some that want instant success. That's not going to happen. We need to build slowly. Look at Manchester City, look at Liverpool, and look at Tottenham. As much as we hate to talk about it, they have settled teams now. They've been going for 3 years. They've invested every window. Cronky, get the checkbook out. We can invest every window, and we can be competitive. Uh, my For what I see in this the end of this season is Emery is going to steady the ship, whether it be a commanding centre back or whether it be a stopgap measure. Cahill would be just till the summer. Let's be real about it. Until he can take more stock of the situation and get. He's still understanding his squad. He's still playing with formations, and he's still trying to get the best out of his players. Now losing Holding and Welbeck means that our squad is very very thin right now. Holding was a player that I liked. He was doing really, really well. I was really disappointed when he got injured, because he's got to be out for a year and try to come back. I hope Emery sticks with him. But I think we can get fourth place, and I'm being optimistic here. I think we can win the Europa League Cup. So please, please, please stick with the manager. Understand. I've been a supporter since 1986. This club is classy. This club has stability. Let's not try to kick out our manager. We've had managers before that have been there for many years. Arsene Wenger, 22 years, and George Graham for many, many years. They brought honours to the club. Let's have faith in Emery. He does bring a pedigree of winning cups and titles. Let him do his work. Let him do something in the transfer window. I think we can get fourth place, and I think we can win the Europa League. We've gone 22 unbeaten. That's outstanding. You can write it off any which way you want, but to go 22 games unbeaten is a sign of a good team. We are in development. We're 6 months down the line. Other teams ahead of us are 3 years down the line. Let's have perspective. We're fighting Chelsea for top four, and I don't think Manchester United will come into our sights at all. They are the banter club. So I want to say thank you to all my subscribers. Um, Appreciate all the support that you have given me and that you will give me. And I would like to develop more and more content for you guys. So please subscribe, like, and comment, and hit that bell so notifications will come up for you. I can guarantee that I'm going to get better and better at this, and more comfortable in front of the camera. So please forgive any mistakes I'm making. I'm new to this. I'm about 8 days into this, and 2019 is going to be a good year for the Gunners. So come on, you Gunners.